well, let's get this over with. Hey everyone! I'm Albert Boris. So, New Super Mario Bros. 2. Well, it sure happens to be a childhood game. To be honest, even though I grew up with the New Super Mario Bros. Series and have a lot of near and dear memories with its games, I'm always shocked to find out how much I just don't remember at all from this game, even after immediately replaying it. And while that probably shouldn't come off as too much of a surprise, after all of these games already have the reputation of being copy-pasted slop anyways, I don't know, I feel like every other game had at least quite a few quirks that made them stand out. Obviously DS was the first one and had unique bosses, we introduced a lot of new stuff like multiplayer, Yoshi, and more dynamic overworld maps, and you tried to put a unique spin to its plot and world themes. It didn't commit to it very well, but there was a visible attempt made. Meanwhile, New Soup 2, on the other hand, just has a bunch of coins everywhere. Which, don't get me wrong, it's satisfying to collect coins, especially since there's even a global coin counter for the game, but not only does it trivialize the life system of the game, but beyond that, the rest of the game is just kind of forgettable outside this. Especially since it doesn't even keep most of the new gameplay additions from Wii, like Yoshi or multiplayer. Instead, all it does keep from Wii is just the exact same soundtrack and visual aesthetics. So yeah, good job trying to not make this game feel lazy. Beyond that, it's also the by far easiest game in the series, with level design so straightforward and breezable it makes most Kirby platformers seem hard, and the worlds often feel completely unfocused because even though the amount of level themes is the same as in the Wii game, there's also only 6 main worlds this time instead of 8 to share those themes, which just makes the game come across as rather poorly planned. Especially since this is not even a limitations issue. They could have had more worlds. They have more worlds on top of these 6 already. It's just that almost zero effort went into them. All of this made it really hard to come up with a stable and passionate ranking for this game's worlds, because truthfully, the game sorta just does whatever it feels like. It made it hard to pay attention and remember what each level was like. With that said, I still tried my best to remember what each world was like, and since a lot of people haven't done a ranking on this game, I figure it could still be interesting to hear what I have to say about these worlds in detail. So with all of that being said, I say, let's just get started already. World Mushroom f***ing sucks. I'm actually astonished by how badly they fumbled the bag here. This is the easy last place world by a landslide, for the simple reason that it's an almost perfect demonstration of all my problems with New Super Mario Bros. 2. It's one of the 3 designated special worlds of the game, however what you need to understand about them is that besides the last one, they're not special worlds in the traditional sense. You don't unlock them by beating the game. Instead, they serve much more like shortcut worlds you can take by finding a secret exit in any random prior level. This way, they're more reminiscent to what Worlds 2 and 4 were in the original New Soup. But whereas those were still actually fully fledged worlds of their own structuring and unique themes, these are just completely mishmashed collections of random levels. The difference is that there's no thematic cohesion, and there's much fewer levels on average as well, with there not even being a tower. And all of this results in the whole experience feeling like an unfinished first draft. And the levels? Oh my god, what a horrible set of them! There's a few kind of cool ones, most specifically the castle at the end, and this vertical ice cave with spike balls, but most of them are just downright uninspired and sometimes even unpleasant. For example, the first level is just some random colorful blocks in the sky with Koopa Troopas scattered throughout. And while this one's a harmless first impression on the surface, and the aesthetic kinda fits a bonus world, it's ultimately just basic. Much more offensive is the ghost house though, which even without the existence of the fake walls that plague the Wii game, still manages to be so confusingly cryptic to navigate through if you want to find all the star coins. Oh yeah, and also, don't like auto-scrollers? How about you have 3 of them? One of which is even underwater! World Mushroom is just an embarrassment. It may not be specifically a completely awful experience throughout, but with no organic flow and such a large percentage of unpleasant stages to top it off, there is no other place this deserves to be. Unless, of course, you're on the same mushrooms as this world is. World Flower is a slight improvement on what World Mushroom was trying to do. It's also still not very good though. It keeps pretty much the exact same issue World Mushroom had, in how it was just a bunch of random unrelated levels squeezed into an incomplete template. However, unlike in that snooze fest, World Flower at the very least has marginally more solid levels throughout. It already starts off with a better first impression, with a level entirely based off of pipes and these snake block platforms. which is actually pretty nifty by this game's standards, and the mountainous sunset theming is a stunning sight where it's at too. And much unlike in World Mushroom, the Ghost House here is actually kind of interesting, making use of these spider webs you can climb up. Even if it also blatantly reuses the Big Boo from World 2's house, but hey, he's cool. Besides these, sadly, the only other level I really like here though is the jungle one. And that's just because I'm intrinsically biased for this vibrant theme. Yet again, the problem with World Flower is that it's just too short and unstructured to leave much of an impression. Because when this is all you have to stand on and the rest are 2 ordinary sky levels, a monotonous auto-scroller, a fun but ultimately shallow castle level that barely builds on its gimmick, it makes you wonder what could have been if there was more effort put into here. In general, I barely enjoy my time here, there's at least 2 levels I love, and for as unimportant as this is, I do at least think the map theming is a bit more appealing than in World Mushroom. What can I say, green triumphs over pink. But yeah, World Flower, it's just serviceable enough fun, if also unbalanced. Alright guys, World 1. It sure is a first world in a Mario game. Okay, you know what, that's kinda mean. For as much as I don't feel a lot of passion for this game, and for as cynical as I'll continue to be for this video after this, if there's one thing I will absolutely give New Super Mario Bros. 2, it would be that it probably has the best first world in the entire New Soup series. It just has a lot more energy, if you know what I mean. The classic overworld theme is a lot more vibrant, with all the bars added to the melody, and visually, it's just a lot more pleasant as well, with more varied and saturated colors. But what about the gameplay? Are the levels there any good? Honestly, yeah, at least a bit. Most of them do quite a serviceable job at relaying you about the different gimmicks in the game. None of them are outstanding, however engagement-wise, they're kind of solid. Whether it's 1-1 with its plentiful of coin blocks you can run around with, 1-3 with its plentiful of trees and introduction of the Super Leaf power-up, or 1-5 which, while being just a flat athletic mushroom stage, makes up by showing off the gold rings, which goldifies everything, including Koopa Shell trails. Even 1-2, the otherwise typical underground level, does something a little interesting by being the first level to show off the Mega Mushroom this time, which I think was pretty cool, just because the more cramped up cave theme makes you feel much more like an unstoppable force to everyone. The tower level making use of snake blocks as dynamic platforms was also a pleasant surprise, since they've never really been used like this before. And 1-A especially sticks out to me, being a city maze level made up of green pipes. Not that the maze itself is particularly clever or anything, it's pretty simple, it's just that I am absolutely obsessed with this theme. That said, aside from that one last level, yeah, anything else there is still pretty average. And also very easy. Besides one boring underwater stage, none of the levels here are bad. However, while it's more innovative than the rest of this series' first worlds, that's only because the bar was never high to begin with. It's still pretty formulaic and safe when all is said and done, and with a basic-ass theming to top it off, but I'm not gonna pretend it's bad at all. World Star is the only one of the special worlds in the game that I think is at least almost good, and even that feels a little dishonest of me to say. Right as you enter it, it's clear the developers had a bit of a different image in mind from it from the get-go, since for starters, you don't unlock it the same way. Instead, it's post-game to earn automatically after beating the game, with a total of half the game's star coins to pass through, and while the hub is still largely themeless, except with a celeste color, and the map layout is just a straight line, you're not gonna believe this. Instead of just 1 or 2 levels being unique, this time it's a whopping 3. This nighttime plain stage with tons of bricks free to commercialize, this spooky beach with womps, as well as an underwater castle that doesn't have a boss at the end. It's a shame it had to be an auto-scroller, but oh well. The bottom line is, all 3 are in many ways some of the most experimental levels in the entirety of New Super Mario Bros. 2, just for the way they put a unique spin to their otherwise formulaic themes, sometimes even bringing in rare enemies as a bonus. Oh yeah, there's also another Sky Temple stage, but the first one, which we'll get to, is much more unique gameplay-wise. And unfortunately, as the story repeats itself, the rest of World Star is once again just a bunch of slop. I hesitate to use that word unless I'm talking about AI, or even worse, the Mario Galaxy movie. But like, come the f*** on, did we really need another ordinary Lakitu stage, or another typical volcanic wasteland? And why another auto-scroller? And the final castle isn't even original in any way, enjoyable as it may be. It's just a recycle of the main story's final level, except with dry Bowser at the end. Ooh! Oh well, at the end of the day, World Star is enjoyable enough, for as much as it shares the same core issues as the Mushroom and Flower worlds. The fact that it has marginally greater heights, including a more tone-setting ender, is enough for me to rank it at least a bit higher. World 4, perhaps more than any other area in the game, probably is the greatest example of a world that's just good, I guess. It very much peaks with its first stage, which is actually quite memorable, what's with all the spiky boulders you have to avoid, mini-goombas that snatch onto you, and unique aesthetic variety, with its plentiful of sections taking place within ground walls. There's also this sky level with bouncy platforms and a purple sunsets that's kinda cool, and don't forget the worst ghost house in the game where you're just waiting inside these moving walls. And to be honest, most of the other stages, while at least thematically cohesive, are so deeply average from a gameplay standpoint that I don't even think I could do much justice discussing any of them. There's another athletic mushroom stage that feels just like the one in World 1, only a little harder. There's also a typical underwater level which happens to have some cheap jumps here and there, two fun but ultimately basic enemy-specific cave stages. Also don't forget the tower being a vertical platform auto-scroller. Seriously, why does every Snow World tower in these games employ this exact same gimmick? 4 games in a row, guys! 4 games! The one slide level was pretty cool though. Not just for the classic blue-coated Choco Island background, but also because sliding is fun. Especially when you also get to collect a bunch of coins while doing so. But yeah, World 4 is just a functionally good area. What else can I say? It may have one of the worst levels in the game, but beyond that, it's just a solid collection of trite, but fundamentally enjoyable and organic levels. And with some neat backdrops as well. It just also doesn't have many standouts, nor is particularly innovative. So B tier it is. Guys, you're not gonna believe me when I'm saying this, but I think the Sky World might be a little basic.
What? Do you really mean that?
Yup, what a goddamn shocker, am I right? At number 4, we have World 5, the Sky World. And just like with many other sky areas in Mario, both before and after, it commits the cardinal sin where instead of feeling like a distinctive cloud-themed setting, just comes across as feeling like a harder World 1. Being just as boring as its athletic stages aesthetically and mechanically. Way to f***ing go as always! Or well, okay, I'm not gonna pretend it's all uninspired. For what it's worth, World 5 does actually have a lot of unique levels up its sleeve, considering these dire circumstances. Being home to not only the singular classic mountain stage of the game, the most interesting tower level, but also this random Sky Garden ruin stage where you use war pipes to blast off the different areas. It's only as unique looking as the new Sup art style allows it to be, but it's certainly a start, and it makes for one of the game's best levels. Otherwise though, I mean, yeah, what else is there to say? Yet again, nothing else is necessarily bad. There's a level where you walk across easy tightropes, which is mid, another one that's just lucky to in coin spam, and the ghost house has swinging platforms. Yeah, why the f not? It's fun, goddammit! But it's also been there, done that. I guess what I can say is, despite World 4 having marginally more unique visuals, I suppose I also remember a few more stages for their gameplay here. Like, hey, there's even another level here with unique snake block patterns. Plus this world is still thematically cohesive. So 6-7 out of 10? Also screw this clickbait. I got all my hopes up just for a barren auto-scroller. World 2 in New Super Mario Bros. 2 feels like if someone took a look at the Wii's game Desert World and went, hey, what if we took this but actually made it good? Because even if it pretty much reuses the same soundtrack and aesthetic from the Wii version, it shockingly doesn't feel nearly as drab or barren, thanks to the more condensed level layouts, barely brighter colors, and I guess just a slightly bigger focus on incorporating ruins. Seriously, a lot of the standard desert stages will ever so slightly change the look of them by having sections taking place inside stone walls. That's not to say the levels themselves are anything extraordinary, they're still rather typical in ideas, but they're harmless enough. For once, the desert theming doesn't drag down everything with it, even if it's still no original wasteland. Actually, there's even a couple of stages that don't take place on the sands at all. However, I wish I could say more about them than there is, sadly. Like, on the surface, it's super cool that there's an entire level where you jump across these totem poles in the clouds. Now, if only the layout wasn't the most basic form of this all the way through, then maybe I could even have a few compliments for it. Although at least the other one of the moving platforms was a nice enough challenge. Even the ghost house isn't half boring. So yeah, World 2, in a shocking twist of events, turns out to actually be a fairly pleasant take on a desert area. And while it's nothing impressive at all, I do somewhat appreciate its freshness, landing it in a top 3 for this game. I'm not like the other bitches, because I got a snake jungle. Yeah, safe to say, World 3 in New Super Mario Bros. 2 does something a little unique with its theming by combining two archetype settings instead of being purely beach or forest based. And while that is probably just a byproduct of this game only having 6 normal worlds instead of 8, it surprisingly doesn't feel that forced at all, just because they're both tropical in nature. It manages to feel structurally cohesive, as much as also more innovative than the average New Soup area as well. And the chair on top, the levels are actually some of the more memorable as well on average. Both of the two jungle stages are incredibly solid, whether it's the one with scuttlebugs and cobwebs or the one with rising poison tides, and the two beach specific ones aren't half bad either. I especially enjoy the one where you're running across water using Mini Mario, just because it's a really unique challenge for what is otherwise a power-up purely used for some offshoot secrets. Plus the auto-scrolling is actually fast. It also helps that both the beach and jungle themes are some of the most pleasantly vibrant in the whole game as well, as far as vibes maxing goes. And that's a big deal because the rest of the world is, once again, kinda not that special. In true water world fashion, there are 3 underwater levels, each as slow going and forgettable as the last one of which is even another auto-scroller, thanks for that. You know, this game sure loves its auto-scrollers. I wonder why I don't like this game so much. There's also another middling and dragged out ghost house, and the castle is just whatever, with a boss that's just the worst of what we attempted. Not that any of the bosses are good here though. And all of those make up like a little more than half of the world. You might wonder how this still managed to almost be number 1 of these numbers, and honestly, all I can say is just off. This is what the silver winner will give you in the third New Super Mario Bros. Just 4 solid levels, and I guess the 3 most beautiful level themes to code it off. Yeah, the underwater levels are still pretty, but that's all I'll give them. This has got to be the most indifferent I've ever felt about a number 1 pick on my rankings. World 6 of New Super Mario Bros. 2, after much consideration, is in my opinion the best of this game's uninspired worlds. However, rather than calling it the greatest, I'd rather refer to it as the least boring. And even then, goodness gracious, the only reason I like this one a little more than the rest is that it's the last proper one, and by instance, also the most challenging one. Because actually, it's also the goddamn most forgettable one. With every other area, I can name at least a few things that make them stand out in the greater New Soup series. But with World 6, it's just a poor man's World 8 from Wii. It's got the exact same aesthetic as well as many reminiscent level ideas, only way easier and less interesting. For example, Wii's World 8 had a meteor shower stage with toxic smog following you, so 2 adopted it, but without the additional fog that spiced it up. There was also a stage with a free moving skeleton cart ride, so obviously 2 also has one, but with none of the speed or challenge. And don't forget about the volcano with rising lava. Let's do that again, except it's horizontal now and the lava's presence is barely felt. Look, even the final Bowser fight is reminiscent, with him growing huge in the last phase. However, the battle itself is so easy and so simple that it was deemed trivial enough to be reused as a regular wonder effect 10 years later. It's miraculous that the level leading up to it is decently original at least. And as for everything else, again, it's just fun. There's a level with these Celeste-like platforms that move up and down by jumping on them, a barely interesting cave level with these shrinking mushroom platforms, another middling ghost house, man, there are way too many of them in this game, an actually cool spooky forest stage with erratic platforms, and the penultimate level is kinda cool as well, with these Bowser statues spewing fireballs at you. And at the end of the day, all of this is, for what's worth, not a complete walk in the park. I may hardly remember any of it when all is said and done, but what I do remember is always feeling a little more engaged in the overall level design than anywhere else in this game. Even the most underwhelming levels in this world had an edge to them. And to be fair, considering World 8 in New Super Wii is only one of my favorite worlds in the series, the fact that this one almost entirely recycles it, I suppose technically makes this one a bit enjoyable too by default. Even if World 3 is a bit more unique, this one also has only one truly unenjoyable level. But yep, that's all that's required to be the best world in this game. Just this. How is this actually number 1? And oh wow, would you look at that? That is my magical ranking of New Super Mario Bros. 2's worlds all wrapped up and finished. As not a single one of them is more than just good. Yeah, after replaying this game for the video, I can comfortably and safely say that this is not an underrated gem. I know a lot of people have been coming around to this one specifically over the years because of the satisfaction from coin grinding and the fact that it technically has a few of the most unique levels in the series. Personally, while I do think a lot of its criticism in the 2010s was in bad faith, for judging it purely as another New Super Mario game than a game in its own right, I can't even say I think it was entirely unfounded. The length and structure feels incomplete, the difficulty is straightforward, the bosses are mid, and there's like 5% of meaningful original elements in total. It just feels like New Super Mario Bros. Wii again, except without all the elements that made that adventure feel grand, and with the most vain and American gimmick coated over it.
Humans. This is what no joy and no whimsy does to a mother.
I mean, like, yeah, sure, it is technically still fun in the end, but I'm not leaving it feeling enlightened in any way. And if the only thing a game succeeds at is responding to my dopamine receptors, why would I be playing it? I just wish I was playing Kirby Triple Deluxe or Robobot instead, or god forbid any other new soup, even you feels more complete. But yeah, these are just my cynical opinions. Hopefully you all enjoyed hearing my slander on this game and it wasn't a complete buzzkill. A part of me thought this video wouldn't be a good idea precisely for this, but I don't know, I also figured you guys deserve a full series on these videos. Especially considering how many of y'all have been asking for it, so yeah.
But what about New Super Luigi U's world?
Oh my god, why do you people torment me? But yeah, what would your ranking be for these areas? Do you agree with me or not? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below what your ranking would be. In the meantime, stay tuned as I talk about everything Mario and Nintendo related on this channel, because for now, I'll be signing off now, until next time.